are on the last leg of our discussions, which is we've done with the preliminaries, the things that we need to prepare. We've done with what's this one, the, the technicalities that you need to be mindful with when you prepare your manuscript. Now let's go with the chapter 3, which is methodology. So there are how many? There are many parts of the methodology under the chapter 3. We have the research and design, local, respondents, sampling procedure, instrumentation, validity and reliability of questionnaires, data gathering procedures, data analysis, and statistical tools. But for the discussion purposes, I already merged data analysis with statistical tools. Later on, we will discuss about it. So the research design describes the research mode. How are you going to conduct your study? Will it be a qualitative or will it be a quantitative? As agreed before, in your qualitative, we will just simplify it and you will just make it a case study because it would be hard for you to do around theory, phenology, and those things because you have your limited exposure because of the pandemic. While in the quantitative, we will have the descriptive correlational if there is a relationship that you want to prove, or there's if we could have descriptive evaluative if you are going to evaluate a certain program, or we could also do a mixed method. But the mixed method, we will just simplify it that the qualitative will be a case study, or rather the quantitative will be mean, and the qualitative form would be in a form of interview para hindi tayo masyadong mahirapan given the time, given the scenario we're in, hindi kayo basta makakalabas ng bahay. Okay, so in the quantitative research design, first is we have the experimental design. It tries to check the cause and effect relationship of the different variables. It also involves manipulation and control of your independent variables, and it measures your dependent variables, which you could also have an intervening variables that influence the outcome of your study. Okay, next. We have a sample of experimental, which is a true experimental design. It helps you manipulate the experimental variables. You have your experimental group, wherein uh, you proceed with meron kang gagawin sa experimental group, and subjects are assigned randomly. When you say randomly, hindi siya kwan. There's a scientific basis on it. Then there's also a control group who does not receive any treatment. In the through experimental designs, we have the pre-test, post-test control group design, wherein before you conduct your or before you give an experiment or before you give a stimuli to a particular group, there's a pre-test, and after that there's a post-test. There's also a post-test only, and we have the Solomon 4 group design wherein there are two sets of groups, one group for the control group and another group for the experiment and group. The quasi-experimental design is there is no control group, just the experimental group. Subjects are not randomly designed also. So you could have the non-equivalent control group design and the time series design. We will not discuss it thoroughly because these types of designs are, um, what's this one? It's not very much used in Ramon Magsaysay. And also the time series design observes periodically observe or measure the objects, it's longitudinal. Masyado siyang matagal gawin. Next, we have the pre-experimental design. Experimental design pa tayo lahat ha? Research has little, in this type of design, the researcher has a little control over the study. We have one-shot case study wherein a single group is exposed to treatment and after that there's an observation or a post-test. Then we have one group pre-test, post-test design, and after that a comparative description of a group of subjects before and after the experimental treatment. Okay, but in our research, we discourage experimental treatment kasi hindi naman tayo science or education researchers man tayo din. We will just focus on education. Next, these are also the different non-experimental design. The first is the survey study. It is conducted through self-report. Why self-report? Because you could ask someone to answer your survey, and respondents report their own abilities, opinions, perceptions, or behaviors based on their opinion. The survey studies also describes characteristics, opinions, attitudes, and behaviors of your respondents. So there are many categorizations of surveys. One of it is whom the data is collected from. So we have three types of surveys on the form of collection. We have the sample, wherein it is a representative of the total population, such as a class of the third year, because I believe there are 6 or 7 class of third year English. Then a group, it's a smaller than a mass, and a mass, a larger than a group. Next is categorization of surveys could also be categorized as the method of how you collect rather your data, which is telephone, text messages, snail mail, which I think we seldom use nowadays. We could also have electronic mail or online platforms. Sample of online platforms which the Department of Education is using right now is the Google Forms, wherein you conduct your survey, you conduct your evaluation through Google Forms. Kasi gina-generate niya na agad yung resulta, so mas madali na sa researcher. And of course, you could also use social media modalities. Just like ang pinakasikat natin ngayon, we have Facebook. So pwede yun siya nating i-utilize. And the most recommended type of survey to use is, according to how you collect your data, is the face-to-face interaction. But sadly, it is not plausible at this time because of the pandemic. Although face-to-face interaction is the most convenient, is the most appropriate, is the most less expensive, but we will just go away with this. So maybe you could focus on the telephone, on the email, or on the Google Forms. Kasi text messages parang mahirap din siya kasi ang dami-dami mo i-text. And of course, the snail mail. Baka abutin pa ng isang buwan bago mag-react yung pinadalhan mo. Next, surveys could also be done according to time orientation. First is we have the retrospective. It is a dependent variable identified in the present, while the independent variable occurred in the past. So retrospective is usually used in social research. But in the educational research, we seldom use this one. Cross-sectional, these are the data are collected at a single point, wherein subjects are at different points, phases or stages. It represents data collected from different time periods. What it refers here in the different time periods is that, for example, you are studying about the challenges of students in online learning. Different time stages would occur in the first year, in the second year, and the third year, and the fourth year. So therefore, you could the first year to fourth year could be your respondents in the cross-sectional type of survey. Next, this one is highly discouraged, the longitudinal type of a survey, because the collection of data is collected from the same people at different times. So it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, or it could be yearly, or it could be 10 years, depending on your study. So we will go away with this longitudinal. Next is the purpose or objective of your study. First, we have descriptive. So most of the papers in Ramon Magsaysay, we use this one, descriptive. So it portrays a population with specific characters. It determines the extent or direction of attitudes and behaviors the respondents manifest. It provides a picture of a situation as it naturally happens. That's why there are many of you who claim or na, Sir, bakit hindi ma-approve yung study namin? Sir, bakit hindi ma-con siya? Kasi it should be done, it should be conducted in a natural situation or a natural setting. And many of you would like to check the learning strategies of learners in the school, the classroom management. So it's not possible because as of today, there is no face-to-face classes. Self-learning modules ang mga bata na andon sa bahay or they do online learning. And in the descriptive, there is no manipulation of variables. Hindi na siya experimental. Next, we could also have comparative type of survey when we compare and contrast representative samples from two or more groups. So when we compare, let's say, the first year challenges on online learning to the fourth year challenges on online learning, would they be the same? Or we could compare the study habits at home of senior high school and junior high school. May pagkakaiba ba? Or wala bang pagkakaiba? Or would there be similarities and similarities? Next is analyze. Frequent, not generalized, and analyzes are frequently not generalized in a population. So kung ano lang yung gistudihan mo, hindi siya pwedeng mag-represent sa totality ng population. Next, correlational. Ito, we could also combine the different purpose of the objectives of survey into two. For example, descriptive correlational. We try to discuss the learning styles of learners and correlate it with academic performance. So investigate the relationship and magnitude of relationship among variables. So kung meron bang connection, say study habits ba or say learning environment pa at home, may connection sa academic performance ng bata, or teachers, ano ba yung tawag, teachers concerned in students at home or learning at home, may connection ba siya sa mabilis magsagot si bata or hindi. Next, it's designed to study the changes in one characteristics or phenomenon. So normally we try to check, we try to infer if there is a relationship, or there are non-relationship in a certain phenomenon. Next is evaluative. So this is part of survey wherein you make a meaningful judgment or a worthwhile judgment of a particular process. That's why meron tayo dito that strategies of teachers, that's evaluative. Then We delineate or we order, obtain, and provide information that is used for judging decision alternatives when conducting a program or service. That's why in the descriptive evaluative, after we try to check if maganda ba yung resulta or positive ba siya or negative siya, then we could create programs. It's either to enhance or to enrich our learners or our teachers in particular program. Next is you could evaluate a formative type or formative type of evaluation wherein you are going to check the process of the learning, or you could also check the summative or the outcome or the result already of such of the study. Okay, so your research local is the setting of your study. It is where your study will be conducted. So based on the sample I have given to you, you could improve it, you could modify it to suit your own particular study. So laboratory studies, it is designed to scientific na ito sa controlled in relation, while the field studies occur somewhere and the term here is occur in the natural setting. So, ang research local natin, dito tayo sa field studies, sa natural setting lang tayo. Kasi hindi naman tayo scientists or hindi naman tayo researchers na experimental yung gagawin natin. Next, the research respondents are your target respondents of the study. You could also use the word participants if participant siya, if nag involved siya through interview or focus group discussion. Pag through questionnaire naman, we use the word respondents. Pero pag mixed method, pwede siyang respondents, pwede siyang participants ang gamitin natin. Okay, in the sampling procedure, it's the process of how you select your respondents. And there are two types of sampling procedure. Hindi ko na dito gilagay yung the different types of probability sampling and non-probability sampling, but I have put here in the PowerPoint the most commonly used in Ramon Magsaysay. But if you want to go with other sampling procedures, you can do that also. First is we have the probability sampling, which is all members of the population are given the chance of being selected, while the non-probability sampling is not all the members of the entire population will have an equal chance of being selected as samples. So, diretso na tayo sa non-probability kasi ito yung napag-usapan natin na ito yung gagamitin natin na sampling procedure. First is the convenience sampling, the accidental or accidental sampling. Pagdating mo doon, kung sino yung available, basta pasok siya sa criteria mo as respondent, then siya na ang magiging respondent mo. That's convenience sampling. Next is quota sampling. Sample elements are selected from is until the desired numbers. So, for example, pag ikaw mo na third year, tapos sa pag-usapan natin, English majors, tapos 30 lang. Pag hanggang makaabot ka na ng 30, basta third year lang siya na SED English ang course niya, then yun na yung quota sampling. Or we do purposed sampling. Purposed sampling is always used in the qualitative study because you personally handpick those or who will be your respondents. It's a judgmental sampling. Kasi for example, we have one researcher who will do challenges of single mothers in online learning. So of course, we will do the purposive sampling. Ang kukunin na natin lahat ng single mothers. Tapos pag mas idetalyado pa natin ang criteria natin, single mothers in third year. So, mas klaro yun siya. Next is in the instrumentation. So, instrumentation is used in or when you gather the results of from your respondents. So we do documentary analysis. We analyze primary and secondary sources that are available. It could be printed, it could be video, or it could be audio. Pwede siyang ganon. Andiyan si Ma'am Tintin sa kabila. Ay, okay. And, wait. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Saan na ba tayo? Okay, analyze primary and secondary sources that are available to documentary analysis. But based on the topics presented in your outline defense, I do believe walang mag-go nitong documentary analysis. Next, we will go for the interview. So normally, we use interview in the qualitative uh, study. But when we also use mixed method, maganda din itong gamitin the interview. Because, but the only, the only catch in this one is you must be a skilled interviewer. Because if you do not know your topic, if you are not familiar with your topic, then how are you going to ask your respondents and how could you gather important or salient points for you kung hindi mo alam particularly ang topic mo. That's why it is very important for you to really read and mas magandang sources ka sa chapter 2, mas magaling ka. Kasi ang dami mo ang exposure mo sa study mo is tama na siya to do interview. We also have focus group interview or meron din ito siya focus group discussion wherein opinions and experiences of more than 3 persons are elicited simultaneously. So, sa other books, ang word nila dito is focus group discussion wherein merong facilitator, merong groups of individuals at isang tanong, sasagot sila, then there will be discussions. It is also recommended that you use or you record with audio tapes or may cellphone naman tayo, you try to record it. Kasi pag nagsusulat tayo, minsan yung rapport natin, yung connection natin between us and the interviewee natin is minsan nawawala na siya, nadidistract din yung nagasagot kasi ikaw hindi ka nakikinig kasi nagsusulat ka. So, it reduces continuity also. Minsan, nakakat yung discussion kasi, ay, wait lang po, sulat ko muna ano gani yung sagot mo. So, pati yung nagasagot, nawawala din yung concentration niya. It also hinders eye contact. Imbis maganda na yung pag-uusap nyo, nawala kasi, ay, isulat ko muna ano gani yung isusulat ko. So, it would be best na recorded talaga when you do your interview. There are 3 also types of interview. One, we have the unstructured. When you say unstructured, it's a form of a normal conversation. Kaya nga kailangan talaga ang interviewer is knowledgeable on this topic kasi wala siya pinanghahawakang questions, pero hindi siya umaalis sa topic na pinag-uusapan nila. For example, challenges in online learning. Doon lang siya, normal conversation lang, para nag-uusap lang sila, pero pala, nagkakuha na siya ng idea sa kanyang interviewee. Next is a structured interview. Structured interview wherein there's a particular sequence. I will also give a sample of a structured interview wherein ito number 1, ito yung question, after magsagot, then si number 2, si number 3, it's a well-defined content kasi pasunod na siya. It's a sequence already based on your main objectives of your study, which could be found in the statement of the problem. So kung hindi ka naman, what's this one, well-versed masyado na magtanong at medyo mahiyain ka or medyo uh, nakaka, medyo makakalimutan mo pag nag-uusap na, then it is strongly recommended that you use the structured type of interview. Sir, for example, sir, there's a question already, sir, and he responded or my responded responded response already, pero hindi siya klaro sa akin, sir. Can I clarify? Yes, of course. You could ask questions to clarify the response of your participants or your respondents. Next is semi-structured. It's you have a specific set of questions, but you could ask additional probing questions. For example, you have three main questions and you have six sub-probing questions, two probing questions in each main question. So, sa study ko before, ito yung gi-recommend sa akin kasi nga para daw makakuha ka talaga ng magandang data. Kaya baka yung question mo, pagsagot niya, one sentence lang, wala ka nang magawa. Tapos tatlong participants ka lang meron. So maganda talaga na may probing questions ka. After your main questions, you shoot your probing questions which is related to your main question. Next, observation. We could also use an observation guide or other terms is observation checklist. But it's not recommended kasi ang observation is recommended for highly skilled individuals or highly experienced individuals. Gaya sa inyo na nag-learn pa lang siya, this is hindi siya advisable. Next is physiological. Physiological instrumentation is collection of physical data from the subjects. Ibig sabihin is physical data is performance siya. Then, pwede siyang about sa weight, basta sa physiological parts ng body natin, pwede siyang gawin. At kailangan talaga dito ng skills and expertise. Tayo na hindi tayo sa medical field, hindi tayo dito. Yes. This one. There are also, meron din mga study na we try to check the different temperaments, the different types of personalities. So we could use the psychological test. It's a self-reported measures that assess the differences in personality traits. Minsan, mas maganda din ito kasi when you try to scan or search in the internet, ang dami ng personality test, ang dami ng stress or anxiety test na madali na lang siyang gawin. And at the same time, tutulungan ka pa or paano mo ma-interpret yung result. And of course, one of the most used type of instrumentation aside from the interview and the focus group discussion is the questionnaire. It's a list of questions with spaces provided for response to each question. And in Ramon Magsaysay, we are following the Likert scale in the use of questionnaire. So from 5 to 1, 5 as the highest, 1 as the lowest, try to check ano siya, kung saan doon yung response mo. Kung nag-agree ka ba, nag-disagree ka ba, or neutral ka. You could use a questionnaire. Next, let's go to validity and reliability of questionnaires. We will just focus on the validity because in the reliability, kakandak pa yan siya, but hindi na natin siya gagawin because nga limited yung exposure ninyo. So validity is the ability of the instrument to measure what it tends to measure. For example, you're trying to check kung a level of stress management ng learners. So dapat yung particular questions mo about the stress management of the learners, huwag ka nang lalagpas doon. Next. Ito, marami siyang types of validity, but ito yung gagawin natin sa atin. That's why in the test of validity and reliability, meron kayong additional payment of 50 pesos per validator na kung saan yun yung babayad natin sa kanila na magbabalidate ng inyong instrument. So, paano pag sa internet? It's either modified siya or adapted siya. Pag adapted siya, make sure na sa Philippine setting siya. Pero pag modified siya, mag-undergone pa din yan siya ng validity. So first is we have the phase validity. It's the instrument is the instrument using a valid scale. It refers to the type phase, yung first glance mo pa lang, mababasa ba ng participants mo or respondents mo, yung spacing, yung size of paper, appropriate ba siya? Supposedly 2 pages, pero ginawang 1 page lang, tapos long, tapos ang font pa, font 8, sobrang liit na. And other details, the subject-verb agreement, and the like. Tapos, consistent pa siya kung first person ang gigamit sa first sentence, dapat all throughout first person na siya. Kung third person, dapat third person din siya. Next is content validity. It study the questions if they're able to elicit the necessary information. So, even in the interview or in the questionnaire, content validity must be really checked. Kung yung questions mo ba, kung ba talaga sa gusto mo makuha sa iyong based on your objectives, based on the statement of the problems. So, it is analyzed by the group of experts. And reliability, it's consistency of the results. If itest mo ba ito sa particular na group, with the same criteria, same ba ang result? Pag hindi, may problema sa instrument mo. But we will skip that one kasi nga hindi kayo makalabas ng bahay. We will just do phase validity and content validity. Next, the data gathering procedure. It is the process of how you conduct your study. From the time you ask approval from the persons in authority na pwedeng mag-approve ng inyong mga study down hanggang sa ma-retrieve niyo ang data and what have you done with your data, yan yung data gathering procedure ninyo. Dapat nakalagay talaga dyan so that when the readers will scan your thesis or your manuscript, alam agad nila ito pala yung ginawa niya bago niya na kuha yung result. Next, dito tayo. In the data analysis and statistical tool, we define statistics as a branch or form of knowledge which is collecting, organizing, presenting, analyzing, and interpreting data. So we collect the data, we try to organize it, then we present it to graphs, then we analyze and interpret what does it mean, or what does it means. Next is descriptive statistics. We use descriptive statistics when we tabulate, depicting and describing the collective data. For example, effectiveness of online learning, yung ganun. Then, ang pinaka-common na descriptive statistics na ginagamit natin is the mean. It is the center of the distribution. I know you're familiar with the mean, the measures of tendency, central tendencies, tatlo sila, but mean yung gagamitin natin. While mean is the sum of all scores divided by the number of choices. Next, we also have the second type of statistics, which is inferential statistics. Actually, marami itong inferential statistics, but we'll just present ano yung pinaka-common na ginagamit ng Ramon Magsaysay. Inferential statistics is the generalization of population through sample drawn. So, ibig sabihin, from a total population, meron kayong sample. It's a higher degree of critical judgment and advanced mathematical procedures ang gagamitin. So normally, when we try to check or yung index of relationship between two variables, we use person product moment coefficient correlation, or sa iba we call it person R, or analysis of variance, or ANOVA or F-test, when we want to compare means of two or more independent groups. Do not worry, in the statistical part, you will have your statistician who will guide you, and I will also guide you on what would be the best statistical tool that you are going to use. But for the qualitative side, hindi tayo sa inferential statistics kasi wala naman tayong data na i-compare, wala naman tayong data na i-compute. We will try to check ano yung mga themes or codes na develop through our interview. Okay, so in the data analysis and statistical tool, I think I'm already at the end of my slide. This is for the qualitative, kanina quantitative yun. For the your qualitative could either be done in content analysis or thematic analysis. While content analysis is to identify patterns and recommended communications, it is systematically collect data from a set of text which can be written, oral, or visual. So, pwedeng content analysis is available na yung data, pag-aaralan nyo na lang. While in the thematic analysis, it is usually applied to a set of text. Pag sinabing text, written siya, such as interview transcripts. Kaya nga po, it is really advisable when you conduct interview na i-record siya kasi there are salient points or mahahalagang bagay na nakakalimutan natin na maisulat pero makapture siya through recording. So ang gagawin dito the thematic analysis is to examine the data to identify the common themes. Themes could either be topics, ideas, or patterns of meanings that come up repeatedly. Basta ulit-ulit na siyang ginasabi, that could be considered a theme na kung saan gagamitin natin siya. So paano ba natin conduct thematic analysis? There are 6 ways on how to conduct thematic analysis. But there are 6-step processes na hindi talaga siya mawawala. First is the familiarization. So, after you have done with your recording, you have your interview transcripts already, you need to be familiar sa nakasulat doon. Ano ba yung magkakaparehas? Ano yung hindi? Kaya nga po, very important talaga na may structured interview or semi-structured siya. Kasi meron kang susundan na set of questionnaires para hindi masyadong sabog yung interview. Kaya baka under the sun na lang yung pag-uusapan nyo, wala kang set of, wala kang proper sequence na sinusundan, malilito ka when you do the thematic analysis. Mahihirapan ka mag-familiarize. Next is, after familiarization, you try to check ano ba doon sa mga statements or words ng mga ge-interview mo ang makes sense. Merong connection. Then, you do the coding. So, on the left side, what are the different words or the phrases or the sentences and the codes. Anong ibig sabihin noon? After the coding, you try to generate themes. So, anong pagkakaiba ng themes at codes? Ang themes are manifestation na siya of codes. Ibig sabihin, there are certain codes na pare-parehas na naman siya na iisang bagay lang pinag-uusapan niya that could be your themes. It's already a merging of codes. Yan yung themes niyo. And after you generate the themes, you go back to your transcript and you try to review your themes. Tama ba ang themes na na-develop ko based sa transcript na sa akin? After that, pag okay na siya, you define and you name themes. After that, we will go with the write-up. Do not worry in the thematic analysis. analysis and also in the qualitative side because Ma'am Rose and Sir Mark and I agree na magkakaroon tayo ng uniform pattern para hindi kayo masyadong mahihirapan. I-base natin yun siya yung sa language research na ginawa ng mga third year, or second year students major in English. Doon natin i-base if pattern natin doon para hindi nawala, para continuous yung learning ninyo. So with that, I think that's the end of my slide. I wish you all good luck. God bless everybody. Stay safe and please do read if you can understand a certain portion of the discussion. Feel free to message me through the messenger or my number. So that God bless everyone. I hope lahat tayo are on the process already of finalization of our chapter 1 and 2. Dito na yung chapter 3. And we'll still have 3 weeks to go before mag-November. Check sa yung advisors and to me as your teacher. With that, God bless everyone and see you all.